Hello everyone, and welcome back to No Code with NetMinds, a series to learn how to assemble amazing digital solutions without having to write a single line of code. My name is Christian, and today I want to teach you a little bit about integrations and automations and how they work on No Code. And for that, we're gonna learn two very simple concepts. One is what I call triggers and actions, that is going to help us understand the way they work. And the other one is API. Now, this is a very, let's say, technical word, and you don't have to learn how to build it or how to really go deep into it, but it's very important for us to understand its behavior, because that's the service that we're going to use, the technical service that we're going to use to be able to build any automation or integration that we can do with no code. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get into business here. Now, for integrations and automations, we're going to use today a tool called Integromat. There are other tools like Zapier that you can use for this, but today I want to use this because I think it's a very visual way to understand how it works, right? And you kind of see that Integromat is very visual on the way that we build things. So it's going to help us a lot today for the explanation. So for today, what we're going to do is that we're going to go with two automations. And I'm going to do this because I want to explain to you the two ways in which you can build integrations and automations, right? And the initial concept that we need to understand is that for an integration or automation to happen, you need to see what event inside of your solution is going to trigger that integration or automation. We're going to see with an example to understand it a little better, right? So the two types of events that we're gonna try to understand is, one is an online event. So it's something that happens immediately. That, for example, when a client or a user clicks on your solution, something is gonna be triggered and something is gonna happen, an integration or an automation. Then the other one is a batch integration, right? In this case, and this event is not going to happen immediately after someone clicks, or is not directly linked to an event, but maybe it's something that happens every week, every month, or that you need to do with an accumulated data, right? So we're going to see two examples to understand it a little better. The first one we're going to build is this one, right? So what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you the end result. In this case, the problem that we have is that we have scheduled an event, and we want people to register to that event, right? But what we want is that every time a person registers, we want them to receive an email, an invitation email saying, thank you for registering to the event, with a link to the event, right? And at the same time, we want to receive a notification on a Slack channel about that registration, right? So what we're going to use here, as we were seeing before, is we're going to use Airtable to create the form. We have done this and we have already gone through this in a previous video. We're going to store that information here on Airtable. As a second step from that trigger event, that is the form registration from the person who wants to go to the event, we're going to send an email using Outlook. And it's going to be a personalized email. You're going to see here that it's going to show the name of the person on the same email, and it's going to send the link for the event. And finally, we're going to get a message from on a Slack, where we're going to see who has registered, their email, and the reason why they want to attend. So these are the three steps that we're going to build, right? We're going to check all the records that go into Airtable. Then we're going to create a message on Microsoft 365. And then we're going to create a message on a Slack. So let's go into each one of those steps. So once you create an account on Integromat, you're going to see this dashboard, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new scenario. I'm going to click here on plus. So the first event is going to be the trigger of the whole experience. So remember, it's going to be the form that we have created on Airtable. For this purpose, I have already created a database on Airtable with just 4 fields: the email of the person, the name of the person, the reason why they want to attend, and the date that that record was created. And then for that, I create a form. Right. If you want to check how to create all of this, you can check one of our previous videos on how to create a database with Airtable. Right. So in here, we just created a form where people can register and say their email, their first name, and the reason to attend. And just here at the end, where we're showing is this message, right? Like, thanks for registering, and you will receive an email with the link to the event in a few minutes. See you then. Right? So we're letting them know that they're going to receive that email. So as always, we have to create the first record to start doing the whole experience, right? So we're going to click here on share form. I'm going to open the form. I'm going to start with a new one, right? So I'm going to just use my email name. The reason to attend is curiosity. I'm just curious. And I submit. And there, I have the message. I'm going to see here that the record has been created on Airtable. Now, let's start doing our integration. So now we're going to see in motion what API means, right? So in this case, what we're going to see is how Airtable as an app is going to open a door for us to be able to either read information from Airtable or write information into Airtable, right? So what Integromat does is that it uses that door called API to access that information, right? So let's see how it works here. You just click here and look for the app that you want to access. In this case, Airtable. And you're gonna see this one, watch records. Once you click there, it's gonna ask to make a connection to the specific database, right? So we're gonna click on add, and it's gonna ask for an API token. To search for this token, we're gonna go back to Airtable. Now, in some cases, you're gonna need to have this token, and in other cases, like in Microsoft 365, we're gonna see that that's not necessary. Anyway, anytime that you have a question about how that works, Integromat always has a guide on how to do it, but we're gonna see it here, so you don't have to check this link. So to go and search for your API token, you just click here on your profile and go to your account. Once you are on the account, you're gonna see here the API token, right? So in this case, you need to copy what is in here, right? I'm gonna blur mine because obviously this is like the password or the code for you to be able to access my database. But what you're gonna do is just copy and paste the information, the exact information that is here. So you just copy, go back to Integromat, click add, and paste the API token, right? You click continue. And you're going to see that if you click here, you're going to be able to watch all the databases that you have on Airtable. So you have connected to the Airtable API and you're able to access all the information that you have there, right? So in this case, we're going to use this one, event dashboard, right? And this specific table that we're going to use is the one called register. In this case, it's asking us what is the trigger field. So remember what I was mentioning about the trigger, right? In our case, what we want is that every time a new record is created, and we want the whole integration to start, right? So in this case, the trigger field is going to be the created, right? That's where I have the date that the field was created, right? So every time that the Integromat says a new record that is being created on our database, is going to trigger the whole event. We click OK. We also need to choose a label field. So as we discussed before on Airtable, every record needs to have a key data point, right? In our case, it's going to be, for example, the email because it's unique to each one of the registered attendees. And we click OK, and we choose from where do we want to start, right? When do we want Integromat to start listening to all the records and start the whole series of events, right? So in this case, we're going to call just all. Everything that starts from now is going to be accessed. We're just going to click here on run once. And we're going to see what happens, right? If you see this here, it's taking the record that we have just created on Airtable and is accessing it from Integromat, right? Now let's go into the following events. Now we're going to connect the Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft 365 email account, right? So in this case, we look for that one, for that specific connection, so the email, and we say that we want to create and send a message immediately. So in this case, you're going to see that it's a lot easier to make the connection, right? When you click add and you name the connection that you want to build, so for your new connection, and you click continue, it's going to take you to access or sign in to your Outlook account, right? So all you have to do here is sign in into your Microsoft 365 account, and the information is going to be automatically sent. The API information is going to be automatically sent from Microsoft into Integromat. So you don't have to do or copy paste the way that we did it before, right? So in here, you just build your whole email, right? So in this case, what I want is, for example, on the first part, say thanks for registering. And we want to put the name. And you're going to see that we can take the information from Airtable and put it into our Outlook email, right? So just click here, thanks for registering, and the name that we have from the previous step. Then on the body content, I just need to write the email, right? So in this case is, so hello, and again the name. We say here is the link for the event. We just copy paste any link that we have. And then you just finish your email. And then you add the recipient. To whom do you want to send this email? So you click here on add item or add recipient. And then you take the information from the previous step, from Airtable, right? You have access to all of it. So you put the email of the person and you put the name of that person and you click add, right? So now you have the recipient and you just click OK. Okay, now after that, what we want is to create a Slack message. So it's exactly the same. So you click here on plus, you look for Slack, you click there and say create a message. So here to create the connection with Slack is very similar to how we did it on Microsoft 365. You just click add, you say Slack user, and then you put a name on that specific connection. You click continue, and it's gonna go in to sign in into your Slack space. Once you do that, you're gonna tell it to allow the access to that account. Then what you can check here is you can select from the list, and you're gonna be able to see that from all the public channels that you have there, you're gonna be able to select to which one of those channels you want the message to be sent to, right? So in this case, I'm gonna use this one that I created before, register. Right, I'm going to put the text, right? So for example, in this case, what I want is to put the name of the person who has just registered, its email is, then I put the email of the person, and the reason to attend is, and then I put it. I click OK. Okay, let's give it a test to see if it works, right? So we're going to check again. I'm going to use the same email, name, the reason to attend, curiosity. Let's be 2 and click submit. Now let's go back to Integromat and check if it's working. So what we're going to do here before we turn on the scenario is going to just run once, do a simple test. So you're going to see that it starts working and going through each one of these scenarios, right? And we're going to see here that it has been successful. So let's check that. So you can see here that I have just received an email from Netmind saying, hello, Christian, here's the link for the event. And you can see that it has my name on it. And you see on my Slack channel, it has said that Christian has registered. His email is christian@netmind.uk. And the reason to attend is curiosity too, right? So we have seen that it has done the whole thing. So for the final step, what we do here is turn on the scenario, right? So we click here. And we say add with interval. What this means is that every 15 minutes, this scenario is going to check for new information in your table, in your Airtable form, and it's going to do the whole process for each one of those records, right? So what's going to happen is that 4 times every hour, you're going to receive on a Slack, and people is going to get their invitation regarding their registration. So just click activate, and then the scenario is on. So everything that happens from now on is going to be completely automatic. Now, the second kind of integration that we can do that I mentioned before is the batch integration. So in this case, there is not a specific event from a user or a client that triggers the whole thing, but it's a specific event. So maybe a time of the day, a time of the month, or a specific thing like that, that triggers the whole thing. Right. So for example, in this case, let's say that you have a sales report or a financial report that you have to do every week or every month, right? So in this case, you need to capture information from some place. So in this case, we're going to use a Google Sheet. Then you're going to have to create a report, let's say in a Google Doc, and then you want to send a message that the report has been created. So we're going to automate this whole process. So in this case, we're not going to build it step by step. I'm just going to show you how it's configured because you have already seen the whole process before. So in this case, what we did was connecting 3 apps: Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Slack. Now, notice something interesting here. We don't have any no-code app on this step-by-step, right? The only no-code app that is working here is Integromat. So one of the amazing things of tools like Integromat or Zapier is that allow us to make any app outside of the no-code ecosystem to work for us in our solution. So in this case, we're making Google Sheets or database. We're gonna be making Google Docs like our front end, and then we're having Slack as our communication tool, right? So the 3 together are the solution that we're assembling, but we're using Integromat to integrate them all. So this is the example that I'm taking. So for example, a sales report of different countries in Europe, in different regions. And then I have here the totals, right? The total purchases for the last month, in this case, September 2021, and how much I did on each week, and for each region and for each country. And the end result that I want is this one, right? But we need to start from a template like this one, right? So in this case, what I'm doing, and you see here these tags that I'm building, right? So these are the places where I need information to be dynamic, to take the information from the Google Sheets to put it into the document, right? So we're going to see how it works. So for the Google Sheet, what we do is that we just select this action, the get range values, because we're going to take a specific range from the sheet. right? And we just put here what is the range that we would need to use. For example, in this case, it's from L2 to AB2. That is exactly these fields here, right? And then it asks if you have headers on that file. So we do the same. So for example, in this case, the headers are from L1 to AB1. You can see it here from L1 to AB1. And we just click OK, right? So with Google Docs, what we do is that we also connect it with our Google Docs account. Then we're gonna get access to all the documents that we have there. You just select the specific document that you want as a template, and it's gonna automatically ask you to compare or to connect each one of the fields from the Google Sheet into your Google Doc, right? So it's gonna take, for example, here, month, total sales, all these are the tags that we just saw here, right? Month, total sales, week, a week. At the end, you choose on which location of your Google Drive you want to create this document, and you can even customize the name of the file, right? So for example, in this case, I'm putting the name of the month. So for example, September, October, and at the end, sales report. So I click OK. And finally, this one, you already know how to do it, is you click on a Slack, you create a message, and you take the information from the previous one. Just that in this case, apart from the name of the file, so I'm gonna say the name of the file is ready, open it here, we're gonna add the link to that specific document, right? So in this case, it's gonna be called web view link. So we just look for this specific field and then click OK, and we're gonna see what happens when you run it. So it goes into each one of those steps. It creates the document, it creates the Slack message, right? So let's go to Slack to see what happened. So I had this channel already created where I get the message. September sales report is ready, open it here. So once I click there, you're gonna see that it takes me to the finalized report. So there you have it. That's what I wanted to explain you today, for you to understand what types of automation you can build using no-code. So in this case, an online automation or integration, or a batch integration or automation, with the two examples that we just saw. And then for you to understand also what API means, right? And how we take advantage of that to build any solution using no-code. So please, hopefully you will get creative with this video and build your own automations. And if you have any questions around it, if you have any idea but you don't know how to assemble it, or you don't know how to start with it using one of these tools, just let me know and I'm gonna do the best to help you. Thank you so much and see you next time.